saying that they like my style. Wanna know how I do it? I smile. While you were out there saying hey, hi, hello, I was getting dressed up in shades of yellow.
Hello, welcome to episode 23 of the Lovely Job podcast. I'm Leah Spicer-Pownall and this is...
I'm Emma Marshall. I'm the MD of Miss Bush.
Yeah, and I'm the marketing manager of Miss Bush. I knew I forgot something.
Do you know, I was listening this week to Alan Carr's Life's a Beach because it's one of my, regular podcasts. And I think he's pre-recorded his introduction, regular travel tips and takes, I think is what he says. But I just think that we should maybe just pre-record an introduction so we don't mess it up every week.
I suppose, but then we don't get these kind of funny little intros.
We'll become slick at some point, undoubtedly. Slick, yes.
Maybe it's part of the charm that we're not slick.
Yeah, and as I say, it wasn't very slick of me this morning. I was just laying in bed, doing the whole scrolling the red carpet action or inaction really from the BAFTAs, and there was something on in the States as well, 50 years or something of Saturday Night Live or something. Anyway, so I was doing, so I feel like I haven't really prepared myself for this in any way, so introduction or otherwise. So yeah.
I know. I looked at my phone and I was like, Emma's still posting Instagram stories. What's she doing? She's supposed to be at her desk.
Yeah, I'm here now. I am here. I'm ready to rock and roll. Yeah, basically, I was I heard this on some other podcast the other day. I can't remember which. Maybe it was Bella Freud's Fashion Neurosis. But it is just the fact that the red carpets are now so dull. They're beautiful and so perfect and so streamlined. But it was a bit like the Grammys. I'm like, where are the rock stars? And with this one, it's these are all creative people. Do you know what I mean? Who are quite usually whenever I meet anyone that's an actor or works in is the talent in front of camera, they're all quite bonkers. They just look so slick and so corporate and so fabulous. I love it, but it's very slick. And I was just literally staring at Selena Gomez's shoes, working out whether I liked the dark colour under the silver dress. Somebody messaged me on direct messages going, isn't it supposed to match the black bit of the top? And I was like, maybe, but also there's nothing really to look at and be like, is that a misstep? It's no, probably not actually. Not that I want, it's not like watching Formula One to see a crash. Do you know what I mean? I don't want things to go wrong, but I would like to see some art and personality and kind of input and character from people.
Yeah, I feel actually we were just talking about Drag Race before we started recording, and you sound like Michelle Visage when she's talking to the pageant queens. They're so polished, and she's let some of your weird personality out. That's what we need, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what they were saying. We're she's got syringes for nails, then there's some weird going on in there. So, but that's what I'm saying is you just expect there to be some weird. Yeah. But I guess that the stakes are so high and the money is so huge. Also, all of my information at the moment comes from podcasts. So on the Rest is Entertainment, they were talking about the cost of mounting effectively an Oscars campaign, and it doesn't really do anything to the film other than it maybe raises what the actors could earn. But it costs $500 million to go on a sort of campaign trail for an Oscar. And I was just looking at and of course the carpets as well, but going, Chanel hosted the pre-party. It looks like Louis Vuitton had a good night. You can sort of see which fashion brands are having a good night. And it's just doesn't feel cool. And I think it also, it sort of maybe prevents anybody finding their own designer or working. I mean, I think Cynthia Erivo is just slayed every red carpet. And I was going to say on the stories that she looked like a giant tooth. but do you know what I mean? It's I thought it would be better to illustrate, that's what a petite person would look like in a bodice length that's too long. And again, I would say Michelle Visage would say her dress was a funny length. It wasn't quite long enough or short enough. So, but I mean, God, she looks incredible. So I just can't, it's one of those things where you're it's interesting to see. but it's so slick. It's so
Mm.
corporate. I kind of would love to see something fresher. But anyway, that's
it's
what.
just one big advert, isn't it?
Yeah, nobody,
Mm.
nobody. There's nothing. As I say, yeah. And even like, yeah. Anyway, it's just a big advert, and it's a very glossy, lovely big advert, but it just feels so corporate.
Mm. It's a shame.
Mm.
I did like Emma Stone for the SNL thing. She had like a red dress on, but she'd
Oh, with
filled
the
her pockets with
popcorn.
popcorn, which I thought was quite cute.
Yeah.
Although people were complaining, they were like, "Oh, somebody's got to clean that up afterwards."
Oh, for God's sake. Literally. Yes. They'll be delighted to. If Emma Stone creates a moment on your red carpet, they're like, the least of your worries is that you've got to get the Henry out. It's literally like, thank you. And also BTW, that's exactly what I look like when I've been to the pictures, and I find bits of popcorn everywhere for days.
Yeah, I usually stuck in my hair.
Yeah.
There's always something
absolutely.
stuck in my hair.
No, I've actually what you don't have the challenge of a large-breasted woman. I've actually found popcorn in my bra before. You're like, what's itching? It's
Oh,
like
itchy.
itchy popcorn in your bra. Yeah, so that's all happened. Yeah. So anyway, on to today's show though.
Yes, do you want to get into it? I think it's going to be one big episode today on one topic.
I have been triggered, and I actually thought, well, let's discuss this because actually, what I want to talk about today is all the things that could be areas of friction and areas of conflict in lots of parts of your wedding journey, actually. So we're talking about the law, about non-refundable deposits, about complaints, what happens if something goes wrong, and ghosting, basically. So it's quite cheery topics, but I'm going to bring some levity to it, so it's not just dull. Because actually, it's like I've got to talk it through, because otherwise, it's going to fester within me. Do you know what I mean? I just don't think that's a really good kind of like place to be. So I'm going to talk through this, because basically, with any client comes into our premises at any point, from the minute they come in, they're already a client, because obviously we have a paid for appointment system. And we're very clear with people on our, before people pay the appointment fee, what that includes and its terms and conditions. So, you can pay an appointment fee of like £50 or £75 for a first visit. And we're very clear about what that includes in terms of the catering that's included in that, the privacy, the one-to-one. And we're also very clear that this is not refundable, and it's only redeemable against a purchase of a full price dress. So not anything else, not accessories, not sale goods. It's a full price dress. And basically, I also am aware that quite a lot of other bridal retailers do not refund that. They consider that to be a fee for that service, which is, I think, again, completely reasonable. We've probably set our price point a tiny bit higher on that, but I know loads of people, including, like, say, Suzanne Neville, do not use their appointment fee as credit. So basically, we do. But before people pay it, we're very clear about what it includes, what it's redeemable against, and that is a separate transaction. It's, and we have to give that information up front before people pay it. And also, if we then see something in someone's quiz or in their requirements that flags to that they don't look like a great fit for us, we can actually go back to them and say, are you spending your money wisely here? We don't have this kind of dress, that kind of dress. Some of the things maybe, don't look like they might be the right thing for you. So to make sure that people don't feel like they've gone to an appointment and they have not enough choice. That's happened once in the last year. And the bride was very disappointed that our selection, I mean, given we've got a lot of dresses, but it is a very tight edit of what we like / I like. So there isn't something for everyone. We know that, and we're very clear about that. So I would rather that person not invest in that appointment if they think they're going to be somewhat disappointed. So in that case, with that woman, when she complained, to be fair, I should have probably said, love, our pictures are all over our website. We're really clear about what we do. But from a goodwill perspective, I was like, well, would you like to come and get, a bottle of Greyfriars instead? Just come and have this, take it away. Because if someone doesn't even drink at the appointment, they're like, well, I didn't have anything I liked and I only had a coffee. So it was like, well, come and get some wine to the value of your payment. Just a PR exercise.
Mm-hmm.
So all the way through everything we do. Now, when we actually get to the point of like dresses as well, the same thing is very, very clear. So basically, because in a wedding dress shop, you're having made to order goods, we have an initial part payment, which is sometimes erroneously described as a deposit. It's not a deposit, it's a part payment for made to order goods. And it is completely within our rights as the supplier to have that in our legal terms and conditions as non-refundable. Because it's the condition of that means that the minute we've got that payment in and we need to produce that product, we then have to set a whole load of wheels in motion. I'm not sure that people are aware of how complex that is. So, for example, so we have that. So somebody signs to this, pays some money, and we have a contract with the client. What happens then with that contract is it has to go to Sue, our bookkeeper, to make sure that all the finances are kind of lined up and that all the payments are correct and that it is lined up with the existing open account that we have for that client, because obviously they've paid the original appointment fee. It then goes from her to Rosie, who needs to put that person in a full admin system to make sure that we deliver on everything we're saying. So that has to go into a work schedule for our production team. It has to go into, like there's the post appointment, like, thank you for ordering. Here's who everyone is. Here's what's happening next steps, facts that you need to know about being. So we have like little kind of links to, like, if you're a Jesus Pero bride or a Suzanne Neville bride, a sort of glossary of terms, more explanations. So Rosie kind of does that, schedules it, all goes in her like spreadsheets of this client against wedding date and what we need to do. Then the order comes to me, generally speaking, to process. And processing a bridal order is not that easy. Because it has several moving parts and everything we do is truly made to order. There is no stock of any of these dresses anywhere. So for me, I have then to look at all the photos of the client, look at their measurements, look at their design requirements, put all of those things together into a very concise and technical purchase order. Put that to whichever supplier is doing that, liaise with the supplier if they've got any questions on things, anything I need to go back to the client with, anything I need to confirm on price, any red flags about anything, because made to order goods, even if you're putting one top with one skirt, that can sometimes bring up a question. So all of those things need to be processed. And then once those have been processed, and then it goes back to Rosie. We await for an order confirmation. And when we get the order confirmation, then we start booking a client into a fitting process. So that is a lot of work.
Mm.
I mean, it sounds a lot of work. It is a lot of work. It takes a lot of expertise from a lot of people. And so when you have this part payment for made to order goods, that work happens before we even talk about cutting a pattern or making a dress or having that dress shipped from wherever it's shipped from. And also just bear in mind, to facilitate even any of those things in the first place, I and all the rest of my peers in the industry have had to invest a lot of money just to open the doors. And to be absolutely clear and businesslike about this, a £50 or a £75 appointment fee doesn't cover me opening the doors. That is completely not. That wouldn't, if I had to open the doors and just charge you what it costs per hour to run my business, it isn't £75. So there is a huge amount of upfront investment and expense that we go to even, get someone through the door, to actually kind of, facilitate this process. So whilst I know that it seems hard sometimes for people to understand that these part payments are non-refundable, simply the entire industry of anything made to order would collapse without that. And it is a fundamental, part of a contract. And we also need to remember, in a contract, that's a two-person contract. It's not me, or it's not just the client. This is a contract. I am contracted to make this product and that person has gone into a contract, and they have the similar burden of responsibility as well. They have to take delivery of it, and they have to pay for it. So this is, this does very, very far away from the kind of like giddy hearts and flowers and unicorns and sparkles and girl boss shit that you actually hear about bridal. But it's a really, really important thing to do. So, and when we take an order, I have got the bullet points of the headline bits of the contract are on there, and we read those to people before they sign. And the signature is not waiving any consumer rights. It's basically, this is, you understand that you're having made to order goods, and this first payment is non-refundable or transferable. The next bit we always put on the headline thing is that you know that even made to measure dresses might need fittings and alterations, and that is an extra charge. And then we also and we give the current cost per hour of that. And then we also tell people to get wedding insurance, because if somebody lost their job, or somebody got ill, or something catastrophic happened, then that deposit is covered, or that part payment is covered by your wedding insurance. Wedding insurance doesn't cover disinclination of either party to get married, and it doesn't cover changing your mind. Now, most times when people try and break their contract from the client side, it is because of those two latter reasons. They've changed their mind, or they've split up with their partner, which is regrettable and sad, but the law is the law. Do you know what I mean? It's like, so but I think you need to do that. And it's like and if we were to kind of look at it from another point of view, as if somewhere close to your wedding, I was like, actually, I'm not going to fulfill my part of the contract 6 weeks before your wedding. I'm just going to give you your money back. People would be like, they'd be horrified. And also, I mean, and it is not unknown within bridal as well, is that people have paid part payments to companies that have then gone bust. So firstly, you should also research your shop. You should look at their credit worthiness, which is very easily done, because you can go to Companies House and look at that, and you can see exactly what level of profitability and good financial health your suppliers are in. And this, I think it's just a sensible thing to do. So you've got those things, and then the wedding insurance as well. It's just a thing. It's like holiday insurance. It's annoying. It's like all insurance. It's completely annoying. Just get it, So, but yeah, financial failure of suppliers is also covered by wedding insurance. So those are what I'm saying. So you've gone into this 2-part contract thing. So I mean, everything that we do is very light-hearted and easy breezy in the shop, but we stop at that easy breezy for people to sign this, to very much be very, very clear about what that covers. If we have got to a point if somebody does want to cancel an order, so you've got a couple of options here. Now, truly, with made to order stuff, I should, on all occasions, have the product made and delivered, and that client should pay and collect those goods. However, sometimes if we can get to a point of the order where we don't have to take delivery. It may not have been made, it may not have been finished, but if it's been made and finished and we've taken delivery of it, you're going to have to pay for it. And I have got 2 brides this current season with cancelled weddings, and they have to pay for their dress, and it's a horrible, horrible thing to have to do. Sometimes people are so heartbroken they can't see their dress. Somebody's parents have to come and get them. Other times people are more pragmatic about it and ask me where they can resell it. So that is one of those things. But the really important thing to know is there are things that I could see that a client would say, like, for example, was I pressured into making this decision? Therefore, I should be able to get my money back. Now, we don't use pressure sales tactics, but your Consumer Rights Act gives you protection against that, about mis-selling. So you have got rights against someone mis-selling or misrepresenting a product. And I would say in my experience, where I've seen some fairly heavy-handed sales techniques, those closing techniques tend to revolve around order deadlines, and a capacity. So it's like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this. Oh, better order it now. That sort of stuff. Those are quite. I think they're reasonably legit. Like, kind of, they're not hideous sales tactics, but they are a tactic. Is to create a sense of urgency to get somebody to commit to something. But I would always say that, if you change your mind about a dress, you've got to just own it. Own it with that shop, own it to yourself, and be like, shit, I signed a non-refundable like contract, therefore please don't try and use I was missold as an excuse. Own that change of heart and go nicely and politely to your supplier and be like, I've had a change of heart. There is a thing that you still doing show notes?
Not really, but I can do them if we have specific things to say.
Okay, so no, all I would say is there's quite an interesting letter that was in the Telegraph about this. So from a bride who had a cancelled wedding and she paid a fairly substantial deposit and wanted a complete refund on it, and the consumer rights champion was not. I don't think was. I mean, she's the Telegraph journalist is a consumer rights champion, so therefore she's going to champion the consumer and not the supplier, which again I find sometimes feels very loaded. It feels like it's pitting a client against a supplier, as though we wake up in the morning thinking, how are we going to rip people off today? Which is, nothing could be further from the truth. Do you know what I mean? It would be, and consider when you actually see big behemoths of corporates that you can't even get any headway with when clearly they're being immoral and illegal. The idea that a small privately owned company in the wedding industry is going to get up in the morning and think corporately, I'm having you. Just doesn't happen. So anyway, this consumer rights journalist said that, under these circumstances, if work hadn't begun, it is possible. So this is even a consumer rights champion in the Telegraph. So we're going to see where their politics are. They were like, it's even reasonable, for the supplier to retain. They said it is likely that would be the case, that this is not actually refundable. But they put it to the person who actually was writing into them, which says, in consumer law, cancellation deposits are only supposed to be a small percentage of the total cost of an item. So it's basically, you could look at it, but we all have to take 50% to be able to kind of cover what we do. But it is, but she still, the journalist basically is, it is the case that when a consumer cancels a contract with a business, that business is generally entitled to keep a deposit, but an amount sufficient to cover their actual losses. Now, I would say that, when you see what we work on as margins overall, the losses, they're pretty much covered by that part payment. So it is kind of, so there's a couple of things here, which is like, what do I want to say? I want to say, you've got to understand that contract from your client side of it. If you're not comfortable, don't do it. Just don't do it, and get insurance. Do you know what I mean? And if you do change your mind, or if there is something that happens that you want to change the order, then the way to do that is to be pleasant and polite and continue that business arrangement or that business relationship in the spirit that it was started in. And unfortunately, quite often with clients, that's not what happens. So I think that, it's a bit like getting a shocking Google review. It's like, particularly, we've had one, haven't you, where you went back to a client and she was like, she complained 6 months after being in and saying she didn't get wine. It was like peak COVID time.
It was during COVID as well. Yeah. And
it's like, so I have no idea why someone after 6 months would go full nuclear option. Whereas if you
she removed it. She removed it after that. I just listed all these points. I was like, okay, this is why this happened, blah blah blah. And then the next day, it was gone. Yeah.
Oh, good. But it's so what I'm saying is, if a client chooses nuclear option first, you've got nowhere to go. And if people I have been to court with a client, and we won that court case. It is a very unpleasant experience going to court, and winning gave me no sense of satisfaction, and that took a very, very long time and took a lot out of me. And at that particular point of like when we did that, I probably, if I'd got a spare 5,000 or whatever the woman was claiming, I probably would have rather like gone, I don't really need this headache like for £5,000, but we're small companies, we can't just give back £5,000 for goods that actually were completely fine, delivered, beautiful, and were accidentally damaged on the wedding day, which is actually what happened. And then they claimed it was my fault or our fault. So it is, So basically, like the nuclear option of like threatening court is pretty horrible. It's pretty combative, and actually it does kind of really hurt the business, not in the way that you might think. Honestly, I'm tough as old nails, boots, whatever am I? Tough, anyway, pretty tough. Like the teabag woman.
No, the teabag, yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, the teabag woman, yeah. Just for anyone that doesn't know about that, that's not like a rude reference to teabagging. That is like, I think it's like Eleanor Roosevelt or something. It's like a woman is like a teabag. You only know how strong she is when you put her in hot water. So yeah, I'm a pretty robust teabag, to be honest. So proper builder's tea. But do you know what I mean? That is like, the hurt doesn't come from that. The hurt doesn't even come from the money. The hurt comes from someone who has behaved nicely that then becomes an absolute outrageous. I can't really use the word because
you can't use the word though. You can't say it.
Use the word. But it's like it's something. It's something that they would say on on what's it? Charisma, uniqueness, nerve, talent. On Drag Race. So it's kind of that the hurtfulness is not the complaint. The hurtfulness is not the money. The hurtfulness is not the law. The hurtfulness is like why you get up in the morning and decide to behave like an outrageous, entitled madam.
I think people just suddenly they forget that you're just human beings as well. You're just suddenly some faceless, horrible company, but you're still the same person you were at the beginning.
Yeah, it's really unpleasant. So I kind of like, I want to just put this out there. So like this bit was all like covering mostly like deposits and the money side of things, but also in bridal, complaints just generally, like there's a lot of way of complaining. So I think we've covered that really is like, like say the Google review complaint. It's like, please, I would really urge any clients to, if they have a complaint, whether we think it is a huge complaint or a small complaint, no businesses can learn and grow if we don't have direct feedback, even if it's negative. Most complaints that we've ever had, I have seen as a learning opportunity for us, and I've realised that we've messed up somewhere in our communication. Something we're doing isn't right. A complaint comes from a very genuine place. Do you know what I mean? I at the moment I'm just doing, for example, today I am going to meet a new PT at lunchtime because I had a PT that, like the tall handsome one, he's gone travelling. And so I then booked with another PT and I did 2 months, and it's a fairly big investment of cash to do PT sessions. And I didn't really like it. And I've had a PT for years, and like Ryan, my old PT from Hibbridge, he was just like a friend, and I saw him twice a week, and it was really, really empowering and really supportive. And sometimes if I was having a bad time, I was like, all I could do is probably a couple of cat cows and a lay down and some foam rolling. Do you know what I mean? But I went, I put the Lycra on and I went, and I felt supported. And he put the personal trainer, and I had a personal trainer just recently. And I'm like, I just was like, she made me feel bad about myself. She put me on a machine, which calculates your body mass index and all that sort of stuff. And she's like, oh, it's 29. That's quite dangerous. I was like, but my resting heart rate's okay, and my blood pressure's all right. Yeah. Do you know, maybe she didn't mean it like that. But basically I heard like danger. And one time we did a session which was so tough that I couldn't walk for days afterwards. It's like, I'm a 58-year-old woman with a hip replacement, and I stand up for my job. I need to be able to walk. So some DOMs, yes, I'm okay with that. A full body that can't work, it's not good enough. Do you know what I mean? And then it was like, program, too much technical language, and then she kept going on about my posture, and then, you can put your shoulders back. I'm like, everything felt very like you're finding everything that's wrong with me and just telling me.
Little digs.
Yeah, everything felt like it's like I'm a fat person with bad posture. And I'm like, didn't really, but I really should complain, but I don't really know how to, because it feels quite personal to me. And I think that is what, if we get something wrong in our industry, I think that's what it feels like. I think the tiniest thing that we might have said or done could be read like this, how I felt with this woman. And that's like, how she made me feel is not the same as her doing something like twatting me in the head with a kettlebell. It's not like a physical, like I haven't got a lasting injury, but what I have got is I've lost all motivation to go and do the work, which is the very opposite of what I paid for. So it's kind of like quite an interesting. So I do think that that's potentially how people might feel in bridal, because it's such a sensitive area. And we need that feedback, because we, as I say, any company cannot improve or grow or improve their communications or their services if we don't have that. But don't go straight to the nuclear option.
Yeah. I quit my Pilates class last week, and I complained to the woman direct instead of just like bitching about it online, because we pay for an hour class, and the first 10 to 15 minutes of the class everybody just sits and chats because they all know each other and they're all friends, and I just go in and I just sit there, and I sit there for 10 minutes. I'm like, I'm not there to make friends, I'm not there to chat, I just want to come and do Pilates for an hour. But you end up only doing 45 minutes of Pilates. So at the end of that class I was just like, this is not for me, and this is why. And I was just like, I'm taking an hour out of my work day to come and do this, and it's a waste of my time. And so she was like, oh yeah, I'll take that on board and everything. Do you want to continue? And I was like, no. But it's like, I could have just gone straight on and reviewed that and been like, oh, it's rubbish. You pay for an hour and you only get 45 minutes because everyone's chatting. But so I just told her nicely, and she gave me my money back. So and she didn't need to. I was like, you don't need to, because I paid for the month. Like, it's fine. But she did anyway. So because I was nice about it.
Yeah, and I think that's important. Do you know what I mean? It's like, so I think complaints handled well. It's like, be nice. Like none of us get up in the morning wanting to be like,
to be horrible.
To be horrible. No, I mean, it's like I think there is still that whole. I think we struggle in bridal with the shop bitch problem. I still think everyone's got that kind of pretty woman expectation, like big mistake, huge. Do you know what I mean? That kind of thing. It's like, what
are you doing here? You don't belong here.
Yeah, like we're like snooty with it. It's like this isn't the case. Do you know what I mean? Apart from anything at the moment, if you just look at the wholesale, complete destruction of retail sales, and that like having a positive, retail experience is quite hard to find now. In any high street or any place whatsoever. But actually, it's, for the people like us that still do it, that give up every weekend to work in retail, that, we'll put in Sundays when we have to, put in evening fittings because we have to. There's a really big commitment for physical retailers like us to have to compete in an e-com world. And I'm not saying, oh, poor us, but I'm saying, think about that. Think about what you're asking and demanding, because actually we're still providing an experience that most other retailers have, whether it's WH Smith or, Debenhams or whatever, they've cocked it up. They haven't adapted and they've gone bust. And it's, or not bust in terms of WH Smith, but you know what I mean? It's like even banks can't have a high street presence. So like, to keep that presence, it means we have to have real people with a real set of emotions and a real set of commitment to doing this work. And it's like, please think about that. I'm not saying that we're going to be perfect and there wouldn't be an opportunity at some point that you might need to complain about something, but really frame that complaint in a way that you understand that it's a very, it's a person that is committed to quite a challenging, demanding job. It's a certain commitment anyway, to not having summers and not having weekends in the service of our clients. So just keep that in mind. But as I say, we need it, because I think that there's every opportunity that something could go wrong. Hysterically, when my mum, before she retired, my mum's got that like granny, like no filter frontal hardening of the frontal cortex, bluntness, to the point where she would like, I'd be like, just don't, can you just not say anything to the clients at all? Because basically, you know, she would say things like, oh, that's your problem area. It was like, oh my God,
Oh no.
like, I can feel the complaint coming already. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, so that sensitivity of language and things, I mean, and you know, so I can't even like say it out loud, but you know, that sort of like casual, not exactly homophobia, but just that casual, you're just like, oh, can't we not say that, please? Just casual everything. Do you know, an old person, 90-year-old, slightly right-wingish, slightly racist sounding, like just wrong in every, because actually, you know, that person would never actually like be that person. Do you know what I mean? But it just, the language is,
they
dated.
just say, there's no filter, it just comes out, doesn't it?
Honestly,
like, I wouldn't put my nan in a wedding dress shop.
No.
No way.
And it's like, you know, the whole sort of like jokes that have been updated and lyrics that have been updated. Sometimes it goes a little far, but other times it's a very important revision from what we've learned. So, but as I say, the revision has to come from the complaint. You know, so I think that's really, really important to know, because we can't get better without feedback. So the other like thing that, so I would say is, I don't really, it's very, very uncomfortable to flag this as well. It's like with made to order goods, some things can go wrong. I said it out loud. Sometimes things can go wrong. So, and I had this conversation with a client this weekend. Oh my God, also, let me circle back right at the end to tell me about my new girl crush that I've got as well. I will go back.
I'll write it down.
I will go back to that one. But I had a conversation with someone, and like, oh, like, what's the most like dramatic thing that's ever happened to you? So, you know, I can tell you that like made to order goods can go wrong in so many different ways. So like the order could get misinterpreted. It could turn up and it'd be wrong, like in the wrong fabric. It could not fit for many reasons. It could be made wrong, or the bride could have changed. It could get held in customs because Brexit, the gift that keeps on giving. It could get lost by a courier. Somebody just did that to us. One of the couriers, we were couriering something to our dry cleaners. They completely lost a whole box of sale dresses. But the sale clients, fantastically, are all getting like brand new dresses because the insurance is paying for it. So we could re-get the orders anyway. So it could, you know, something could go wrong in the fitting process. Something could go wrong, you know, like people turn up quite often when we tell them not to put like fake tan on or makeup and get makeup on their dresses. There is everything from little tiny mistakes to glaringly huge errors. Every made to order option has an option to go wrong. I've got a thing at the moment, like a pattern cutting thing that's going on with one particular style of dress that I'm now like, I really need to have a face-to-face with the company about it, because I think there's a problem with the pattern, and it's recurring too often for it not to be a problem with the pattern. So there's just a lot of things going on that you know, there's a lot of moving parts in made to order goods that could go wrong. And, you know, a bride has every expectation that when she sees her dress for the first time, it's going to be perfect and it's going to fit beautifully and this, that, and the other. And I would say on 98.5% of the time, that is the case. But there is a very small percentage chance that something can go wrong with all these different moving parts, from couriers to production to sewing to this, that. This is all very artisan products. So you've got to kind of think about that. But the confidence that you should have as a bride is that you are in this contract that we have talked about at the beginning. You're in a contract with me. I am legally obliged to fix anything and everything. I'm in a contract with you. So at that point, if something does go wrong in the process, I know how to get it fixed. And we only work with companies in our supply chain that have completely got our back. So it can go wrong. It can be a total disaster. literally, like, the couriers can lose the dress, and we can get another one. And so somebody did ask me at the weekend what's one of the worst things that's happened, and I was like, well, I'm going to tell you and I'll confess, because it's my fault. So I'm going to tell you what happened. So years and years ago, before we had the before we had like just the chapel, and we were a 2-site place. We had the shop across the road. The mezzanine was where we still use it as a bit of an office. Actually, in the chapel there was more of an office, and we all had desks up there. But below the mezzanine was the production floor where people did the sewing, and people's own dresses were there. And there was a wedding dress hanging ready to be collected on what are now those kind of display boxes. And I was sitting at my desk, which looked directly towards that, and I pushed my computer, and it pushed a cup of black coffee through the bars of the mezzanine, and it launched, and all the black coffee went down the back of this wedding dress.
Oh no.
Yeah. So, and this was waiting to be collected
That day.
no, the next day. So the next day. So what I've got is, and at that point, this was so long ago, but this was in when we worked with a company called Maggie Sotero, whose stuff was made in the Far East, and I've definitely put my politics where my mouth is now. But so anyway, so there was no possibility of them helping in any way. So I had to take this dress in a car, drive it to a very specialist dry cleaners in London, and they're like, you've got 2 chances. We can either try and clean it really vigorously, and it will either work, or it will completely ruin the dress. I'm like, those are not the odds I wanted. So I had to get back in the car, drive all the way back, and implore one of my seamstresses at the time, Janet, who's incredibly talented. I was like, right, I'm sorry, you can't go home. So luckily, the coffee was only on the back of the dress, and we had another client's dress that was the same, a couple of sizes bigger. But so basically what we had to do is unpick the second client's dress, take the entire back of it off, recut the panels to be the size of the smaller one that I got coffee on, and completely remake the dress overnight.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
And did the client ever know?
No.
No.
Neither client ever knew. I had to slightly fib a little bit to the other client, be like, oh yeah, your dress hasn't been delivered yet.
Oh, God.
Well, we actually got, because obviously the company were, the magazine were very good. They eventually did get us another dress for that other girl, but it was just like, I had to I'm just going to buy myself some time on this. But nobody knew. Neither of the clients knew. So what I'm saying, even if something goes catastrophically wrong, we've been through COVID, we've been through floods at the chapel, we have been through everything. I have personally been through bereavement, divorce, whatever. We've never dropped the ball on anything. And our clients, and our suppliers rather, are really incredible. Do you know what I mean? Even like somebody last year, when I was like, we had a bride who lived in very far away, like Belgium or something like that. And she obviously was coordinating her fittings with her planned trips back to the UK. And someone at Jesus-Pownall had just not put the dress it hadn't been collected, and it wasn't going to arrive on time. So I phoned them up. I was like, well, somebody's going to have to get on a plane then, aren't they? And so Oscar, the commercial director of Jesus-Pownall, got on a plane to Gatwick with the dress and delivered it the same day on a flight. So, that is the level of commitment and support that you have, and the level of technical expertise. And so if something does go wrong, I want a bride to know that basically, firstly, things can go wrong, but that we've got the technical expertise and the backup in the supply chain to fix it at any given time. Do you know what I mean? So that is and also it's a legal obligation. So but it can be very discombobulating and concerning for a bride, particularly if you invest a lot of money. And it should never be that you get to a point where you would be in a dress that there was a glaring error on. But even if you did get to that point, if every QC had missed something, we'd be like, don't worry, we've got you. But I can see how that would be terrifying. And I've just flagged it all the terrifying things that you could ever ever possibly happen.
Yeah, those are like the worst case scenarios, aren't
Worst
they?
case scenarios. It's just something to populate your wedding anxiety dreams for you there. But
And I think the thing is, you're choosing to have a wedding dress made to order by smaller companies, and you can tell the name of every single person that's been involved in the making of that dress. So I think that's what makes it special, isn't it? Like, and all those people are there for you, supporting you.
Yeah, and as I say, I mean, that circles again back to why the part payments have to be non-refundable, because that is a huge supply chain of people committed to creating these kind of garments for you. So
okay. I think we're gonna maybe have to do a part 2 on this, because it's at 45 minutes now.
Okay. So I'm just going to do one little bit then, one more
Okay.
little bit, and I just want to say that this is something I'm seeing across all of the wedding industry from everybody I'm liaising with, which is ghosting. It's in a word, brides, please don't ghost. It's the most difficult thing to take as a wedding supplier, because we cannot operate without feedback. And this goes back to the complaints again. So complain if you want to, but start constructively and don't go nuclear with the first option. But ghosting is like, you've come in, you put a contract on hold, you don't want it. It's fine, just fine. It's absolutely fine. But could you tell me what you did choose? Because I need to know if I'm missing any product areas in the shop, and I cannot have an unprofitable shop where people don't choose things, because that way financial failure lies. So I firstly, as a commercial reason, it would be really good to know. I cannot understand why people won't tell you what they chose. The amount of time people just ghost you, it's like, yeah, that's great. Can you let me know what you did choose?
Yeah.
Like nothing. Why? Why is that? I just don't understand why people won't tell you. It's like, please tell me that you actually found something you liked more. That's very good. Amazing.
Yeah, and I guess if you've spent an hour or so with someone and you've like been getting to know them and their dress, you want to know what they're going to end up wearing as well, don't you? I guess even just out of the...
And also, even the possibility would be like, well, actually, somebody undercut you with the same dress, different shop, less money. They also need to know that, because again, that helps me to inform my commercial decision, to be like, well, am I going to buy this product if it's in this place as well, another place as well, and these people are just I'm going to do the sale and somebody else takes the money. I need to know that from a commercial point of view. And also, like, if I'm missing something, like if I'm missing a really cool look, I'd like to know that too. I can't see any reason why a bride won't tell us that, but it is more common that the people won't tell you. And what I love sometimes is they go, oh, I got this, Jenny Packham dress. I'm like, okay, we don't do beading. Good, I see it.
Yeah.
We don't have that look. And I'm not going to have that look. So that's a complete, but I can't, there is
maybe they think you're going to be like, oh, you chose that, like, and judge them for it, but you wouldn't ever be like that. So maybe they're like they're not embarrassed, but like,
well, I don't. It could be something I don't like. I'm very clear about what I do and don't like, but I've never said my way is the right way. I've just said it's a really strong opinion I hold, and if you like something that I don't like, that's brilliant, because otherwise we get into that kind of BAFTA blandness. If everybody likes the same thing and nothing really sparks joy and love, then it's not going to be probably the right dress. So I do think you do need to have, if you pick something head to toe beaded lace with a very plungy neckline, very sexy and fishtaily, and all the things with buttons to the end of the tray. No, I don't particularly like that, and I'm not going to put it in my shop. But it doesn't mean it's not a valid choice. And actually, if someone says, well, this is what I bought, I'm like, you were never a Miss Bush bride then.
Yeah.
It's so, and I don't need to worry too much then, because I'm not going to put that in, because I can't have every look. So that's what I'm saying, is ghosting would be like, please tell us you can't afford it. Please tell us that you found it somewhere else. Please tell us if you pick something completely different. Please tell us if you pick something quite similar, but just by a different designer. I can't see why there's any reason not to do that. And so, but I would say that is like a really important, and as I say, it's an important thing for you to have the shopping experiences you want, and to continue to those to be important in your life and relevant and pertinent. We need the feedback. And then the other thing I would just say, just broader wedding industry, I'm finding a lot of people, florists, photographers, hair and makeup people, are saying that they're being ghosted by clients. We know that like wedding staff can be, the whole wedding budget in itself is very different for everybody. People have got different priorities. And if you didn't know, for example, that what the cost of having a hairdresser or a makeup artist or what these flowers were, that's fine. But it's go back to that person and be like, oh my God, I had no idea. Sorry, I'd never put that much money in my budget for this. I'm going to have to think of a different way. Because again, that person needs the feedback. They need to even see if providing that product or service in this marketplace is a viable business, and they need your feedback. And you can't just ghost. It's weird. And also really it feels rude and unhelpful. And as I say, if we were like, oh, how much is this dress? I'm like, I'm not telling you. Do you know what I mean? Or it's like, oh, I don't think you can afford it. That would be rude and unhelpful. Do you know what I mean? But it's feeling like we're getting that back. And it's like, and I always slightly laugh sometimes at things going, we won't accept rudeness to people in, doctor surgeries or something. And the receptionist is like, well, how about you?
Yeah, look in the mirror first.
Start with yourself. Do you know what I mean? But it's like, I really genuinely think that this is somewhere where that two-way communication thing is is really, really important. So
I think it feels very like Facebook Marketplace. Like, is this available? Yes. Nothing. You just see memes about it all the time, don't you? It's just like that.
So I think, as I say, it's so important for people to so I would really implore any couple, if they turn down a reject a quote, please give a decent reason why. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, I've always said to people as well, if you have asked your florist to quote for 10 grand's worth of flowers, don't be surprised when the quote's 10 grand. Yeah. But you may not know that. Do you know what I mean? You may not know, because advertising these days is completely deregulated. And, if you look at a wedding on Pinterest, or I see some people's Pinterest boards and I'm like, right, you've just pinned a 250 grand wedding. And if it doesn't come up to your expectations, it's because it's not because your wedding would be bad, but you've had a 250 grand expectation with a 25 grand budget. And you've got to prioritize. Any money that you spend on a wedding is so important, and it's got to be so personal for you. And it's got to feel like you're really getting value for money out of that. But it's also a luxury, and you should be able to enjoy your luxuries. It's what you work for. So, but please help the industry by helping up, by really feeding back. Understand, so to summarize, understand that you're in a legal contract when you do buy a dress. Understand that complaints and mistakes can happen, and it's how we handle them, how we learn and grow. Understand that we don't get up in the morning trying to work out how to rip you off. So don't come in with a siege mentality thinking that's what's going to happen, and don't ghost. Be nice.
Yeah, don't ghost. Just remember, there's a person at the end of that email as well. You're just talking to another person, and they're probably lovely.
Or even if they're not lovely, they're still a person. Do you know what I mean? It's like, well, if they're not your person, I don't know. But it is and that's what I would just say, just generally across the wedding. And I would say that most of my clients, I would say we're not even at 98.5, we're at 99.9% of my clients are literally absolute dolls. Talking of which, oh God,
we need to hear about that girl crush. I feel like this is going to be a lovely end to the
well, you can go look her up now, because I've DM'd her already, and she's put a nice...
I know who it is. I've seen her. I saw her at the weekend when she messaged.
Shan. Oh my God.
Oh, we're naming her. Okay. Hi, Shan, if you're listening.
Literally, we got every fashion reference. We could name everything that we'd ever seen on the red carpets recently, who the designer was, what we loved. Her taste and ours was completely in sync. She was also incredibly beautiful and 6'1", and with the most beautiful ink. And I was just like, I think you're like my perfect woman. So girl crush is incoming, and she'd even really fallen in love with the images we did at the barn at Botley Hill, whatever it is, Botley Hill Farm Barn, with the
barn at Botley Hill. You got it right the first time.
Okay, that one with when we had Amy Foy, and we were doing all those kind of beautiful petal boobs.
Oh, yay!
Yeah. So I was like, you saw that, and it was like, I love that look. And then, so I really loved it when people, and her job is quite visual, actually. So I really loved it that she liked something that I'd styled and curated and had that sort of vision of. So I was like, I love you.
I love that.
I love her. So we could have talked for hours, I just think. So I'm literally getting her back in. So
amazing. Okay.
really, yeah. Anyway, so
Love
that's
it.
like, so can I just say that like most of everything is girl crushes and it is all hearts and flowers and prettiness and a lovely job.
It
But I
is.
really felt that I needed to get all of that off my chest.
I hope it's been useful as well. I think it probably would be. And if anyone does have any more questions about this topic or comments that they want to share, then let us know and we will do.
I did say to a
Do a
client
part 2.
the other day, Ben was with someone and she could hear my voice and she's going, that's Emma, isn't it? I recognise her voice. So I was like, have you asked a question yet? Please, can you ask a question? So,
Yes.
yeah, do ask a question.
We need questions. And I just want to also end by saying that the strapless dress with all the different tops has gone onto YouTube, and just like last time, the Americans have found it and they are leaving the most hilarious comments about Emma's outfits. So if you'd like to go onto our YouTube and go and have a little chuckle at those and leave your own comments, that would be lovely.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, as I put that outfit together, we actually said, didn't we? It's like, the Americans are going to love this.
Yes,
like,
we did.
I knew it was going to trigger them. It's like, I'm wearing a baby doll dress and some socks and shoes.
I know.
I've just like a 5-year-old.
Somebody called Maureen has said, what in the Sam Hill is that chick wearing? Why would anyone take fashion advice from that poor woman? Heavens to Betsy. Maureen. I know. I love it. I think next time you should wear like a beige cardigan and beige I
couldn't leave the house.
Chinos.
I couldn't leave the house in age appropriate clothes. I just couldn't do it. Do you know what I mean? I literally was like, no, I can't.
No.
There is something in me that is like addicted to like wearing something odd, and I don't know where that comes from. Oh my god, I literally can't even tell you. Like, oh, please ask me on the next episode about this punk show musical I went to on Saturday night, which is the worst thing ever.
Okay, well, you're going to tell me about that as soon as we sign off, which we should probably do now because we're at 56 minutes.
We'll see you all next week with more fashion and fabulousness and not less about the complaints.
Yes,
but
less serious.
This though, and I think it will be good for other shops as well.
Yes, definitely. Okay, and see you next Monday.
See you next Monday.
Bye-bye.
You'd like to know, wouldn't you? You'd like to know, wouldn't you? You'd like to know.